your valuable ideas and experiences. I would like to request everyone to be seated. We are about to start our next session. Dear audience, esteemed panelists, honorable guests, honorable trustee members of the BOT IOB, respected faculty members, and beloved students. Now, our panel is about to rewilding Bangladesh, building collaboration for socio-ecological impact. For this, I would like to humbly request our keynote speaker, Mr. Shehzad Munim, CEO Bonion Bangladesh. I would like to call him on stage. Thank you. We have our keynote speaker, Mr. Shehzad Munim, CEO Bonion Bangladesh. We also have Dr. Marufa Akhtar, Chair Global Studies and Governance IOB. We have Dr. Fariduddin Ahmed, Senior Forest Management Specialist, Aranyak Foundation, Bangladesh. We also have Dr. Najmun Nahar, Professor, Agroforestry and Environment Science, Shere Bangla Agricultural University, Bangladesh. I would like to come on stage and take your seats, please. Thank you. Now, I would like to humbly request Mr. Munim to give his keynote address and afterwards for Dr. Marufa Akhtar to moderate the session. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I am actually in a very enlightened company, and Ranjit, thank you for actually bringing me here. What I would do is I would share some practitioner's perspective. I'm not an expert in this area. I've grown up into an organization which actually has a culture ingrained into its entire internal system, which promotes afforestation over in the country. So I will very quickly get into this very small slides that I actually have to share. So very interestingly, I saw a few things that was the main topic of COP in terms of ensuring climate-resistant culture, I think, which is a reality of Bangladesh very much, and we live in it every day. Renewable energy sources that we need to look for. We do our little bit of effort, but I think we need a lot bigger participation in the country in terms of having a source that is reliable to get renewable energy, which at this point in time is non-existent. But the government is working on it and the private sector is. And on the net zero, every big corporates in the world is actually publishing its targets and actually saying that we want to achieve this position by a certain milestone, a certain year. And that is actually a very interesting perspective. What I bring in is when the shareholders of big corporations are interested in this journey, you see the needles moving. It starts with the shareholders. It doesn't start with the employees, philanthropies. When you want to make a big move, you need to start it from the shareholders. And compelling the shareholders and the valuation of a stock market change actually drives it, which we are seeing in the global stage. Does it happen in Bangladesh at this point in time? I doubt it. It doesn't have almost no reflection in our stock markets. But that's the journey every single market actually goes through as the economy progresses. I think we're at a very infant stage. If we look at the developed stages, these are the kind of commitments global organizations are making, yeah, in terms of net zero. But you will hardly see any large organization in Bangladesh actually making any such efforts. The causes of all these changes that we know why we do all those things. The population, of course, we have a lot. We know why we do logging. All those photos on that side actually talks about what we are doing that is not right. Okay, and these are the effects on the other side. The main reason for it is economics. All the things that we do that we often knowingly unknowingly harm the nature is the economics of it. And when the effect of that actually happens to us, it adversely affects our economies as well, but we don't realize it now. We carry on doing things which in the future is going to affect us. And when it starts to affect us, we start to ponder, why on earth is it happening today? Yeah, that's the cycle of life. That's the cycle of humanity. Look at Bangladesh, our story. Um, there was a dot in the middle you can see in the 1930s, which is supposed to be, I think, around Mymensingh region somewhere, Madhupur, Gaur, or something we heard. You go there, and these days there's nothing. Of course, you can clearly see the pictures are changing, and if you actually have a 2021 photo, that will have lesser greens, obviously. The reason is very simple. We have too many people, and you can see on the other side, the forest levels in the country is depleting. And our only big bastion, actually, which is in down the south in Sundarbans and also the Chittagong hill tracts, that is also depleting fast. And I know a little bit about the Chittagong hill tracts part because that's where we are in. I'll talk about that, how we actually have lived through this journey of afforestation in Bangladesh at this point in time. We have a good neighbor called Bhutan. Um, they actually can afford it because they have less people. They also believe on overall happiness rather than economics. And they actually have a beautiful situation where more than almost half of the country is actually wilderness. Now, if you think of Amazon in the Latin American area, the Amazon forest we all talk about, that is the renewable source of the world, isn't it? For us South Asians, probably Bhutan is one of the countries which is saving all of us in a way. And is there any connectivity amongst us? I think the previous panel was just talking about the connectivities amongst our. Nobody put the nature never put a border. I love that comment. Actually, nature never puts a border. It's just nature, isn't it? And if you travel around that patch, you will start to fall in love with the beauty of the natural beauty. And actually, the eastern side of India as well. I've been a traveler from my first job, and it was in Sylhet, and one of the very few person to actually cross the border and actually drive through to Shillong. And I can tell you, I've traveled around the world. That is one of the most prettiest journey you can actually do. Yeah. So these are the things that we need to cross learn and share as well together if we are on the journey. In Bangladesh, there are few interesting good things actually happening. Okay, so the government is interested. Government has got a plan. The Delta plan is there. There's Mujib Climate Prosperity Plan, and you can see a lot of the donor agencies and everybody's working on it. There is a commitment from the government of talking about 72.7 million saplings they want to put in. All good. The biggest challenge is on ground implementation. As a person leading a organization which has been in the journey of afforestation in this country, we put in about our numbers are so far is 1.2 million that we actually have done. The small efforts that we do, about 5 million saplings, we know how difficult it is to make them survive and actually grow and deliver the results. Yeah. You can give away a lot of saplings. Does it survive? What's the survival ratio? That is something that we need to all talk about. And in the journey, this is where I think in the area of real making difference on ground, that's where Bonayan can actually have a bit of an experience sharing. That's why I'm here. So Bonayon, what is it? It started as a CSR activity of a large multinational company. Yeah, 42 years ago. 42 years ago, we started the journey with small ideas. And so far, the numbers are here. I keep on forgetting numbers. 12 crore and millions always is a confusion for me. Yeah. 5 million saplings each year we commit. That's the number we have. Set in stone, we go out, and every year, rigorously, we've been doing it for 42 years. You can see in the dotted on the maps a few places. That's where we operate. You can see that we are nowhere in the Sundarbans. There's a reason why we don't go there is we have no business there at this point in time. We go to places where we have commercial interest, where we have our own people looking after our initiatives. If you don't have people directly dedicated to their cause, you're unlikely to get success. So our all efforts have been around the places where we have a sizable establishment, sizable cover of management, and they actually have the culture and the passion of afforestation. Every single member who joins in the company is inspired in this journey. Yeah, and I can tell you very clearly, the most enthusiastic are the youngest population. Yeah. And that's where our success has been. Um, I heard the thing, Ranjit, that you guys are talking about from snow line to sea line. We don't have snows, so we've gone to the toughest, highest altitude point that we could find, and we've gone down to the absolutely sea level. And also, I take a lot of pride when Raihan is over here. He's the only one who's probably been to that island where we tried to take the Rohingyas. Yeah, and we tried to our first effort of afforestation there, and we failed miserably. The reason is we didn't know that landscape. Then we realized that we needed different type of plants. You just can't go and grow mango trees in that island. You probably need coconut trees or some different species. Did we stop there? On the first effort, we failed? No. We went back again, and we are growing and making success. Our journey has been like that. We fail, we learn from the local communities, we involve the local communities, and we move forward. Lot of pictures, beautiful. We call them the big milestones or canvassing projects, like the Samanat Airport. We have the bypass roads. One interesting thing is there is no big forest in this picture, right? It's just the land that we have. Use it. We cannot have big forests like Sundarban, again recreated in this country. We are struggling to even keep that. Okay, we are losing the Sundarban slowly, but we can restore it. That's one of the other topic. But what we have done is we have found land. Who got the largest land? It's the government. It's the roadsides. It's different projects. You can see probably the Jamuna Bridge, that approach road. It's around that vicinity. That's the area that you can work on. And that's the land that is there. How do you work on that is the good question. You work with the local community, you work with the government, you involve everybody around that place. And that's how we make it happen. This slide is not to show that these are our flagship projects. This slide is already only there just to show that it is possible without just creating a forest in one place. Yeah, you can make the difference. This is a photo that I have a lot of pride in. Okay, we all know the Rohingyas came in our country, and that was the situation in 2018. That's the situation now, roughly. Did we do it alone? No. We're only at 10% or 20% max contribution. This is where we work with the government. We work with every single entity that was interested in afforestation or reforestation in that place. And why I put it up is a photo because the real big emphasis is to work together to make a bigger difference. You cannot create alone a landscape difference like this. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I'm very glad that we actually have 6 years now, renewed contract to work together with the repatriation process and the government entities. And there were times it was difficult to go there. We needed a lot of brave people to actually shoulder on. But that's what I said. Our people are there anyhow in that part of the country, and they contributed in creating this picture. This is another slide where I would highlight is that you can see all government institutions in this slide. This is the journey of partnership. So 42 years ago, we started alone. We did it on our own with our management, wherever we were, we did a little bit of work. In this journey, we have realized you need partnership, and government is the institution which has got the largest amount of land in the country. And if you go with the government, if you go with the police, military, border guards, these people have an ingrained system in them to actually look after the plants. Your success ratio is the highest. If you give them something, they have a barricaded place, they have a rigor of actually planting and actually watering these things, and the success rate is high. And what we have now gone into is Rajshahi is the greenest city in Bangladesh. We are working with the mayor, we are working with the Dhaka mayor, and we are also working with the forest department. So it's an inclusive journey with the government that allows us to get scale. You can do only a little bit in your own. When you work together, you can get scale. And we've been awarded. These are the most valuable thing that we have received. Of course, do a good job, you get a pat on the back, you got Prime Minister's award, you get all the recognitions, which is good. But that brings me to the last slide. It's good to give me a pat on the back, but remember, we are commercial organizations. There has to be some policy interventions that gives you a bit of an incentive. Our learning with the farmers and the communities in the patches that we walked in, you show them the commercial benefit, the economic benefit of this, and it thrives. If you just leave it to charity, if you leave it to just good work, it has its only limited impact. Not too many people are interested. The moment you start to add the economics to it, the people understand the value of it, it just multiplies on its own. We can demonstrate to you about more than 100 plus families who've actually grown bigger, educated their kids, married their daughters, and actually achieved economic independence just relying on planting trees in an organized way. And that's where I stop, and let's have a bit more conversation around it. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. It was a very enlightening presentation. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to welcome you for this session, which is about talking about the rewilding Bangladesh, building collaboration for socio-ecological impact. I really congratulate you to start with this keynote presentations, which actually talks about few key important messages which I would like to highlight before we go to our other speakers. We do have esteemed two speakers today will share their own experiences. So first, I really like when you mention we cannot create, we cannot do alone. So that means collaboration. And also you talked about that climate change is something that is cross-border, is interlinked. So biodiversity loss in Bangladesh, Sundarban, is also ultimately impacting other parts of the South Asia. And yesterday we spoke about this borders actually doesn't work when it talks about climate change and deforestations and what we are talking about. So collaboration is must. And in this case, Bangladesh can be a leading example. And we do have a good policies that you mentioned. We do have two good policies. The issue is how do we implement? How do we monitor? How do we collaborate? So therefore, I would like to invite our two esteemed panelists today. So one, Dr. Fariduddin Ahmed, Senior Forest Management Specialist, Oranok Foundation, Bangladesh. And we have another, Dr. Nazmun Nahar, Professor, Agroforestry and Environmental Science, Sher-e-Bangla Agriculture University, Bangladesh. I would like to invite first Dr. Fariduddin Ahmed, Senior Forest Management Specialist, to touch upon some of your work experience and the lesson learned that we can use, especially your work with forestry. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is it working? Yeah, okay. Well, I'm a forester by profession. So I have worked for 45 years with government and non-governmental organizations. So most of the time, I started as a researcher. So initially worked through Chittagong Hill Tracts and other forest areas of Bangladesh. And then I joined in Bangladesh Agricultural Research Council, where I worked for 20 years. I was leading natural resource management discipline and trying to help different organizations in developing their capacity for research as well as research development, including education and extension, I would say. And last 15 years, I was with Arunok Foundation. Basically, in Arunok Foundation, we try to conserve forest, engaging communities, collaboration. The point that you highlighted, I would like to say at the same tone. But in between, I worked with Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation for 5 years. So what Banayan was telling, I would just like to supplement that. Two issues I would like to supplement. One is, very recently we had our master plan. So we tried to understand what we have in Bangladesh. So we had lots of survey, lots of data collection. In 2007, we had one, and last in 2017, 18, we had another survey. So we observed that trees in non-forest areas are increasing. Means there are more and more plantation by the private people, by the homestead dwellers. So more trees in the outside forest rather than in the forest. In the forest, our forest declined. If we compare over a period of 20 years, between 2000 and 2020, we have lost forests. Our forest is reduced. But outside forest, that has increased. There's an indication that people have become more aware. I just referred to Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation for two reasons. One is, we had two great achievements in Bangladesh. One of the main tool or main issues for that kind of massive afforestation is nursery program of Swiss Development and Cooperation. They were really strategic in creating nurseries throughout Bangladesh, or encouraging young people to come up with tree material production or planting materials production. So that was one of the greatest achievement. And many of the people, can you imagine how many nurseries we have in Bangladesh? It's 25,000 nurseries we have in Bangladesh. And in fact, I invited Director General of Indian Council of Forestry Research and Education in 2004 to see our nursery industry in Bangladesh. While he came to Bangladesh, he came with a negative attitude. There are Bangladesh, oh no, they are just child. But after visiting Bangladesh, he said, I would like to spend a month in Bangladesh to write a book on, you might have heard the name of Dr. Negi, S.S. Negi, Sharad Negi. And he said that this is really something wonderful that I have seen in Bangladesh. The nurseries could be so big, so diverse, and so qualityful. The second point that I wanted to highlight is about quality. So initially, we started with production by the private sector, not with the government sector. And then second, we looked at the quality. Quality means germplasm. We tried to give emphasis on genetic improvement. So we did not just go and collect seeds from individual tree. We tried to select mother trees throughout Bangladesh. We identified those trees, collected seeds from those trees, and concentrated and collected in one place and redistributed to ensure that the genetic materials are properly distributed. So that was the second reason. And in fruit sector, we have a tremendous achievement. We have established a distribution system of fruit system from the source of origin, like research institute or universities that has developed some varieties, how that would be taken to the farmer's field in minimum time. So it takes just 3 years to distribute a released variety from the point of origin to the farmer's field. That's the second thing that we have established. So meaning that Bangladesh is in place for production of quality planting materials, both in timber trees as well as fruit trees. Now, I'm sure I don't have much time to make a speech like our keynote speaker. I would like to highlight or draw your kind attention to the previous panelist, that they have been talking about restoration. So, in fact, I was telling that we tried to integrate people in restoration. So that is very important for climate change, for biodiversity conservation, so to say, for value chain establishment. Even government is really encouraging fruit tree production in Chittagong Hill Tracts. For all those kind of things, we are now trying to emphasize on restoration, forest landscape restoration. FLR, forest landscape restoration, is very, very important, and we are making it involving people. So what we are doing, using those satellites which we have already seen in the last presentation, using those satellites, we have identified the areas either degraded or shifting cultivation land. I'm not saying that shifting cultivation is bad, but in Bangladesh, because of increasing population, the rotation, the fallow period of shifting cultivation is reduced to 3 to 4 years from 19 to 20 years. So that has become unsustainable. So we are trying to integrate fruit trees or some valuable timber trees into it, because when we talk to people, indigenous people or ethnic communities in Chittagong Hill Tracts, ask them to go replace shifting cultivation, initially they would resist, because that's their livelihood. We can't take out their livelihood. So they would say that, no, we don't want to change. But when we ask them, are you having right production? Then they said, no, but what we can do, we are going to exploit more and more land, find out more land so that we can have better food. But that land is not available. Bangladesh is densely populated country. So we are trying to integrate some of the fruit trees, some of the timber trees of their choice in the shifting cultivation land, as well as there are some highly degraded areas. If you go to Global Forest Watch, I repeat, go to Global Forest Watch, and in dashboard, look for Bangladesh, you will see that maximum deforestation has occurred over last 20 years in Chittagong Hill Tracts. So we are trying to restore those areas involving communities. And yes, we are getting some, initially there were resistance because we are plainland people, they don't trust us. But when we have convinced them that we will be supporting you, helping you in restoring as well as livelihood, because livelihood is something that works for conservation. So our approach is livelihood for conservation. So supporting them for livelihood and for conservation. This is working something very good. You can see, actually, I would like to say, tell you that if there are any professional, I would like for them, I'm saying that we had ROAM, ROAM, means Restoration Opportunity Assessment Methodology. We developed that, or we have customized that. We applied that in Chittagong Hill Tracts and took people into confidence. And they are now, especially, I should not say Chittagong Hill Tracts, rather I would say Bandarban and Ruangchori Union. In that area, we are having a pilot that's giving us very good, excellent performance, or we are very happy with people's perception, because initially they were resisting. Now they are inviting, oh, why don't you take my land into this program? That is a kind of measuring our success. When people call us that you take our land. Similarly, in Khagrachori, we have started working there in 2009. If you go to Arunna Foundation website, you will see that in Khagrachari we have done similar type of thing, restoration work involving people. We have helped them in restoring their forest. So with their, just by them, I mean, with the, by the help of the people, they restored their area, but we were instrumental to help them for alternative livelihood. That is working, something that you can see, that is very encouraging. Madam, I would like to stop here. Thank you. I'm sorry you have given, I have taken more time possibly.
No, no, absolutely fine. Thank you so very much, Dr. Farid, to bringing us, sharing with us your own working experience, and also to share some of the positive examples and changes that took place in Bangladesh over the last period of time. This is really amazing, and I learned a lot because I was not aware about that fact. But you brought about this when you talk about restoration, reservation, conservation, and also you spoke about the involving young generations collaborations. So my questions, and even I would like to hear from you, ma'am, about how this collaboration can happen, and also how, because you talked about the business models, fostering business investment in restoration to create social and ecological impact, and the key incentives that need to be put into place to encourage this investment, to encourage this private, and to merge this private and public collaborations for this work. Because at the end of the day, we know money matters, funding matters. How do we work here?
Thank you. I am an agriculturist, and I think I work my conduct research are based on agriculture, maximum in sea level. In the coastal area, I conduct my research with my students in coastal area. We know that there are coastal area is increasing in our country due to salinity intrusion, and there are lots the cropping pattern in that area is so less that only one crop is cultivated in that area. So vast of area are uncultivated. So our initiative is to research on the saline tolerant variety, and we at first we search the salinity level on that area, and then um, they, how can we mitigate this salinity problem. There are different climate smart agriculture adaptation technology we use there, that is actually surgeon method for coastal area, and drought prone area we use the rainwater harvest, mini pond, etc. And these people are really encouraged this program, and their lifestyle is socioeconomic important. They are really increasing, and in this, Dr. Fariduddin said that there in hill areas, there are lots of scope in our country. The farmers, farmers there, the respondents are changing their cropping pattern. Their cropping pattern in the mango orchard. Now there are so many types of, so many varieties are cultivated there, and the multi-story orchard. There are fruit trees are cultivated there, and the people of that region are really very happy. In the very early stage, they only use the zoom types, that mean shifting cultivation. Now now the hilly areas, they are cultivated. There are 2 or 3 strata, that is a crop, that is mango, then banana, lemon, and in the pineapple in the ground level. So they are encouraging, they are interested to do this, and mainly the young people, I think they are doing this, and and our students, I mean scientists, are really working with their, and they are happy, and I think it will be improved, and our business and socioeconomic condition of our country will be increased. And we know that there are lots of problems, and there are climatic hazards in our country occur, and the people of the vulnerable region, they mitigate, uh, they want the adaptation technology that is must be climate smart uh, technology that they can use, and our scientists and our students are working there to collaborate with with that people, that area, and they're increasing their production day by day.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Nazmun Nahar. I think we can have another round of discussions on the question that I was actually thinking. If because now we are talking about rewilding environment, we also talking about restoration. We talked about collaboration, but if I ask you very briefly to talk about all of you, what are the priority areas for intervention when we talk about rewilding environment in Bangladesh? Which are the priority areas and where we can actually do a lot more in the context of Bangladesh? Anybody, you can.
Okay, I think let me again take the floor. Yeah, you have raised a very important question. Which area and why? I would say Chittagong Hill Tracts. You know, when we talk of climate change, always we think that which area is more vulnerable. Immediately it comes to our mind that it's coastal area. But while World Bank made a strategic plan on climate change, they have showed that it is Chittagong Hill Tracts. The main reason is, you know, in Chittagong Hill Tracts, the critical issue is water. With deforestation, we are losing water in the stream. Usually, women travels 1 hour, 2 hours, or 3 hours to collect just um, some water for drinking and domestic use. The water is reducing because trees are declining. With decreasing forest cover, soil cannot hold water, so water is running. Immediately after rain, it just goes to the drain, and people don't get water around the year. In the past, they used to get water around the year, and they could make their subsistence with it. Now, if you go to Chittagong Hill Tracts, if you want to locate where people are located, you will see that they are located in a place where there are some forest, because that forest is the source of water. And in the morning session, His Excellency British High Commissioner was telling that he visited Chittagong Hill Tracts last month, and he came to know that people in Chittagong Hill Tracts, they are conserving forest for water. Yeah, that is very true. They are conserving a patch of forest for water, and those patch is commonly called village common forest. Means village common forest. That forest is a common forest. People in certain area, in each mauja, or in certain area, they uh, join together and conserve a forest. Of course, there is a system. There is king. You know, in Chittagong Hill, there is king system. There are kings in 3 hill districts, and under king there are headmen, under headmen there are karbari. So either headmen or karbari, they distribute land to the people for shifting cultivation, but in common they conserve some forest which is called village common forest, and that village common forest is the source of water, as well as bamboo and some other timber product they get from that village common forest. And there are only 400 or 400 plus such village common forests, and the area is only 30,000 acres. If you compare total area of Chittagong Hill Tracts, that is really tiny sesame. It's very small. So we need to restore forest, and that restoration is mainly for ecosystem function, restoration of ecosystem function. Basically, ecosystem function is impaired because of deforestation, because of land degradation, deforestation and land degradation. So that's why we have to bring it back. This point that Madam asked another question that about um, investment in Chittagong hill tracts and uh, how people would be benefited from that. Government has recently encouraging people to come up with two crops. One is cashew nut, the other one is coffee. But though I told you that people had been doing shifting cultivation, even shifting cultivation is also shifted. Original shifting cultivation you don't see anymore, because now after 3 years they convert it as banana orchard. After harvesting banana, they plant some fruit trees like mango. She was telling about mango. So mango is one of the species. Now previously we thought that only mango is available in the northern part of Bangladesh, in Chapai and Rajshahi. Now Chittagong hill tree has become one of the attractive area for producing mango. Like in the coastal area, people are producing mango, and we are exporting it outside Bangladesh from there, because that creates some physiological stress, and that physiological stress makes it more delicious. Mango is become more delicious, and that mango is exported to UK and other countries of the world. Similarly, in Chittagong hill tracts, people are now trying for late varieties of mango, not traditional varieties. There are one variety which is very common is called Ranguai. Ranguai is very common, that came from Myanmar, but that is not as sweet as Amrapali. The second variety is Amrapali. Now people are saying that no, we don't want Amrapali because after 5-6 years we are not getting good harvest. Now they are asking for Bari 4. Bari 4 is late variety that brings more money. So people are quite intelligent, and gradually they are changing to the. So what I was telling, they grow some of the crops like turmeric. Turmeric of Chittagong hill tracts is going throughout, is exported throughout the world. That's number one. That's very very good in quality. Ginger, pineapple. People have been growing pineapple in a wrong way. So now we are trying to introduce coffee within pineapple, and we are trying to integrate even cashew within those plantation area, not in the area, not cleaning natural forest. We have to remember that we should conserve natural forest. We would like to keep it untouched. We don't want to introduce any exotic variety, any exotic species in the natural forest. But outside natural forest, where people are dwelling, if they integrate some of the fruit trees which are exotic, even say Bari 4, that's not really variety from Bangladesh. We have introduced it from somewhere, and then actually we have not. We have made a cross between Florida variety and our Ashina. So based on those cross, we have developed Bari 4. Bari 4 is a late variety, but color is beautiful, taste is fantastic. So we are trying to introduce those varieties in this area so that people can have better, can earn better, can have better livelihood, because that's ultimately that is important. That will contribute to forest conservation. They know that they need forest, but they cannot conserve it because they need to survive. I stop here.
Anybody else would like to?
I'll just add, sir, it's absolutely correct, and I've direct witness to what he was talking about. I'll just add the thing over here: ecology is economy. So if you don't translate it into economic benefits, as sir just mentioned, this success will never come. And all I would add to that, what you were saying, sir, is we need to have policies where big commercial entities take interest in value addition of that. Just basic agricultural output is not going to give you the cream of the entire thing. So you need to have certain investment, make juice out of the beautiful pineapples, improve the logistics of it. Bringing agriculture produce from Chittagong hill tracts is a nightmare. Ask me, and I know exactly how difficult it is. So infrastructural improvements is another thing where if you integrate it all and create the overall circular economy of it, only then you'll see natural flourishing. Yeah. If you don't do that enough and incentivize enough, and then this discussion of all green financing and all that. So these kind of policy intervention is needed to actually make a significant leap in the next 10 to 15 years in those places where we are trying to reforest. Yeah, that's what I would add.
No, great point. Ma'am, would you like to add something?
I'd like to add, we know moringa, moringa, that is shazna. It's called a miracle plant, miracle tree. There are lots of importance now. Most of the people of our country, in the southern region, I think they do not eat the moringa. But now we know that the leaves and that fruit and every parts of the moringa tree is so very important, and it is in our country. Some NGO are exporting the dry matter, that is leaf dry matter, leaf are exporting in some foreign countries, and they're earning lots of money. And they can use, and in our agroforestry system, and we can use moringa with other crop, associated to crop with vegetables, and we can increase our production, our nutrition, and the food security, I think, in the country must be improved.
Great. From three of with our distinguished panelist and keynote speaker, one thing, one takeaway from this discussion is like we have to be we need a policy, of course, but we need to be smart and practical and innovative, because all the examples they were actually sharing, it suggested that we need to be very smart. What is practical, what is plausible within this small land and huge number of population, and the challenges, the development challenges that we do have. So thank you so very much for bringing all these practical examples, and I can feel that you are so motivated when you are giving examples of mangoes. I can feel that you need to have a heart. So while talking about rewilding, I think before we go to the audience to have a questions, maybe we can go for a question round, and then we can conclude with another round of questions. Yeah, if there is any questions. Do you have any emerging questions? No? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Ranjit from India, from the Eastern Himalayas, actually. So I was reflecting on what was being discussed, and one of the things, please sit, one of the things that we've been not been able to understand is that how do you restore land with local endemic species? And what has been discussed here, whether it's introduction of coffee, introduction of cashew, the entire agroforestry model to give actually the forests the buffer that is required so that the forests are not eaten up, and from outside the fringe benefits provide for the people around it to defend it. I can see the logic, but I'm not understanding why enough research is not being done by even us to see what is endemic species. Now the latest rage is moringa. Now everybody talks moringa. This is the latest, somebody must have come and said it. Last 6-7 years, people are saying moringa. Yeah, everything can be used, it's biodegradable, it's good. Even though it's not endemic in many places, it doesn't really help. So my question to y'all, with all experts, because y'all are doing such great work of creating natural assets, and I would not call it planting trees. But planting trees is what we did in the imperial regime, where we actually had forestry, tea plantations, coffee plantations, because we wanted indentured labor to produce the goods and services and supply it cheap for consumption in the industrial north. That time has changed. Now it is for us actually to have a balanced world and lead the world. So many of the things that we're doing are correct. How do we get into this regime of creating the nursery movement of endemic species? Maybe you're doing it. I would love to know more about it.
Okay, very good question. Actually, in 2006, Arundhak Foundation took a project to encourage nursery owners to establish nursery of endangered species. That was quite challenging because people are not familiar with, and there is no market for endangered species. The people look for Acacia auriculiformis, eucalyptus, because those are fast growing. When I was encouraging them that go for some critically endangered species. Neither they are familiar with those trees, nor they are familiar with collection of seed or seed handling, nursery raising. So we started that, and after that we tried to we started with 26 nurseries, and 26 nurseries, when they raised those seedlings, they found it difficult for marketing for selling. Then we said that there is always a tree fair in the country. So we asked them to take it to the tree fair and introduce people with those trees. But that's how we have actually started it, and it's going. Even to be honest, in the program that I was talking about in Ruangchori, we have supported 8 nursery owners because we need seedlings in the remotest area of the forest. And producing seedling in Bandarban district and taking it to the forest is quite challenging. So we try to create, help 8 young nursery entrepreneurs who committed that they will go for nursery, establishing nursery, and we provided them seeds and technology support. They raise those seedlings. At the same time, they were also thinking of marketing, because we said that we will buy your seedling a year or two, then we will not buy it from you. You have to do your own marketing, because they have to create their own market. But it's very difficult. That's why we had a buffer nursery. So Arunnak Foundation has established one nursery in a very large area, which is about 1 acre, 3 acres of land. In 3 acres of land, we have produced all those uh, planting materials which we would be planting in the field. But again, I reiterate, we don't encourage planting trees in the forest, in the natural forest, even in restoration area. In restoration area, using satellite image, we have identified 5 different kinds. One is highly degraded site. So in highly degraded site, we have still found that even you have seen one area in Cox's Bazar, Ukia, where these makeshifts were established for people from Myanmar. So Rohingya camp. While we established, we started planting trees. After 1 year, we have found that we got almost 20% which are natural regeneration. You might have marked that we have just removed topsoil, but which means that there is no seed bank. Apparently, there is no seed bank. But after 1 year, we have found that at least 20% natural regenerations were there. Those seeds were coming from outside. There is no mother tree also. There is no forest around, but still there are, seedlings are coming out. So exactly same thing we follow. And even in Khagrachari, while we said that we will give you money for planting 2,500 seedlings per hectare, which means 2 meter by 2 meter. You understand that. But at the end, they said, no, sir, we could not plant more than 400 seedlings per hectare because there are lots of seedlings. I'm just saying that the soil of Bangladesh is so fertile, so good that you don't need to plant seedlings in the forest. Of course, in the forest, not outside. Outside you have to do. As you rightly said, in Chittagong Hill Tracts, British came to remove natural forest and planted teak for high value timber. They thought that earlier natural forests are low yielding forests. So that's why they replaced with teak. But now situations have been changing. So I'm saying that even in the highly degraded forest, there are natural regeneration. If we retain those natural regeneration, you get completely those areas. But farmers or people who are living in the communities, they want some cash. So they say that, no, I would like to have at least this plant. Please give me this plant. That's how we have planted 400 to 500 seedlings per hectare. I mean, you understand what I'm trying to say. So that's how, yeah, we can have further conversation. And about how we have integrated other trees. It's not in the natural forest. We did not change land use system altogether. For example, if there is pineapple plantation, or they are doing, say, pineapple plantation in one area, we did not ask them to replace it with tree. Rather, we said that, okay, introduce some crop. Even in shifting cultivation plot, we said that, okay, try what fruit trees you like. They said mango, guava, and those trees. So we said that, okay, plant those trees. And even coffee, Even moringa. And about moringa, I tell you, I would stop saying one story. I had a collaboration with Japan, an agreement with Japan that they will buy uh, tons and tons of moringa leaves from Arunok Foundation. It was established in 2018. So getting so many plantations, so many leaves, so much of leaves was difficult. So I encouraged Brack to plant moringa in Rohingya camp. They planted 100,000 saplings of moringa, and it was very difficult to get seeds of moringa. So either we plant, branch cutting. That's a quite system, but not easy. And while I was in SDC, I imported some moringa from Africa. You know, to my utter surprise, it did not produce seed. It did not perform well like you know um, this Prosopis juliflora that became menace in Pakistan and India. Same thing happened in Bangladesh, so we had to immediately remove those um, moringa. So bringing plants from outside, I'm just giving a message that is also without research is very dangerous. And we are doing, of course, what I'm saying. We had some research backup. I mean, some background of research. So even coffee, which I imported from India as well as from Indonesia and Africa, I did not take it to the field directly. I know the principle of introducing tree. So we have certain steps. We always bring some planting methods from outside. Then we go for a screening. So even
Sir, I may
yeah, sure. Thank
request
you.
you to running out of time. So do you want to respond any, or because we have a question from the audience? Because you stop where you stop is a very interesting, where you actually give examples of using brag to fulfill the requirement that was asking from Japan. So this is a innovation, the investment where we can actually unlock this investment, which actually my last concluding comments. So before we go there, maybe I would like to hear from the audience one question, and be very brief.
Hello, my name is Momtaj Rahman Mekha. I'm currently working at BAT Bangladesh. I'd first like to thank you all for a very wonderful session. I learned a lot of things. The question I have is, while all of you are expert in your fields in terms of what you do, and the audience in this room are also people who are perhaps quite interested in things like environment, however, the average person who face the consequences of the lack or the degradation of biodiversity, they perhaps don't understand that how it is related to biodiversity loss, but they face the consequences of it. An example of this might be when people face the consequences of flood, they don't know it's a direct result of the cutting down of trees and the soil losing and soil erosion as a result of it. So my question would be, if ecology is economy and a lot of people are facing the consequences of it, but they do not understand that it is directly related to the loss of biodiversity, how do we embed this idea to the common individual? Thank you.
This is no. Actually, if we, I do not. I would like to differ with one point that people don't understand the impact of losing biodiversity might not be true. Basically, uh, if I talk about Chittagong hill tracts, there is another politics, another issue. It's not, they understand that if they lose tree, they will not be getting water. They will not be getting bamboo. They will not be getting many things. But in other areas, people are replacing, say, high value, fast growing trees because of the cash. That's true that people don't value mandar, say for example, Erythrina or Parijat, Bangla jetake boli, Parijat, or value of Shimul. Those trees attract birds, and the impact of losing birds they might not understand, but usually people remember. The point is awareness. That's why we need more communication, more television program, especially the children. We should learn, we should teach children about.
Thank you. Maybe we would like to hear from two other panelists. Would you please, would you like to respond?
I think just to add to your question, is what Sir also mentioned is what we have found in our journey, the youngest population are the most enthusiastic. I think you need to incorporate these kind of things more into our educational curriculum so that we can inspire the younger generation. And most important of all is how do we start to collaborate more is something that I want to really highlight. The SDG targets of our country also says that about 40% has to come from the private sector contribution. And we cannot be all pulling in different directions. We all need guidance to actually pull in one direction. And we cannot be spread all across or put all our resources in one place. Like we are talking about Chittagong Hill Tracks, which is very important, but everybody goes there. It's also a crowd. Yeah, so we may need to diverse a strategy that how we actually tackle the issues district by districts, and it could be a prioritization. These 5 districts are a priority, and second level. And this is where I think we need a lot more work and platforms where we can have the dialogue with the government. And our learning is that if we approach, there is very good response from the government side. I think it needs to happen both ways. That's all on that. Thank you.
Yeah, great. I mean, we today with the discussions, ma'am, I will come to you for your last comments. But which is interesting here that in the discussions that all the examples and policies we are talking about, we actually emphasizes empowering the local community, because without making them empowered, you cannot actually bring any changes. Whatever funding we are talking about, that will go in vain if they are not empowered. And also, most important, thank you for bringing this topic, awareness, public awareness, how we are going to educate people, because behavior is also very important when we're talking about conservation. So my last question I would like to, and ma'am, if it would be great if you can put light on. Okay, so the discussion is getting really intense because we have one more question. Please, I would request very brief, if possible, in one line.
Thank you for this opportunity. This question is to Mr. Ahmed. Uh, as you have said that the shifting cultivation has been a great problem in the hill tracts of Chittagong. It's the same problem in the hill states of northeastern. Like people are confused whether shifting cultivation is a sustainable or unsustainable process. Like if it is followed traditionally, it's considered to be sustainable. Somewhere around when I was in Nagaland, I came to heard about this tree pollarding practices. So I want to know a little bit of that. How is it an alternative solution to this shifting cultivation? Your comments on this, sir.
Sorry, if I got you correctly, you are saying the tree pollarding practices in shifting cultivation. Exactly. That is being followed in Bangladesh also. Pollarding, and we do it in such a way that you can see only a stump. And normally they burn. You know, this is clearing and burning. So that's what they do. But unfortunately, we don't get even large tree because it's only 3 years, 3 to 4 years. So they clean everything now. Previously, they used to retain tall, big trees, and they either clean branches or pollards. But now, almost it's clearly burned. And the problem is, it's not only burning, but it also continues. The burning continues even in the area which is not supposed to be under shifting cultivation. I will
Thank you.
discuss. I mean, we can discuss those issues.
Sure, sure. Therefore, there is a tea break. Maybe it will be, or in the informal discussions, you can discuss more. But I would like to go to our ma'am. Please, if you have, would you like to respond or final comments
Last
on
comment.
how can we
For
collaborate?
IOB student, I think the business should be eco-friendly, and the waste materials should be managed, and I think they can measure carbon footprint, I think, and promote green events and reduce travel joint in online, virtually they can use travel, and they can we can minimize our loss in economy, and we can by awareness, I think the environment will be fairly eco-friendly for us. So thank you.
Thank you so very much. I would like to conclude this session here and with a huge thanks and a big round of applause.
Hello.